Welcome back. I know it's been a few weeks, but personal lives have got in the way and we weren't able to find a time that we could all get online together. I guess that's the product of having half the team on one side of the world and half the team on the other. When we did get a date, sadly, Lisa couldn't be with us because she was struck down by an illness. Now she's okay. It just meant that she wasn't on these next few episodes because we chatted for about 3 hours. So might be 3 episodes out of this. In this episode, you'll understand why I was confused as a young boy why someone wanted to smoke his lawn, and gives us a breakdown from a professional capacity about the effects of, let's just say, some substances. And Dawn lets us know why the price of beer dictates where you want to live. Anyway, let's get on with the show.
Well done.
Yes.
Was it much of an ordeal, or?
Oh, just they did do an angiogram, so they go down and sort of inspect the area.
Yeah, I've had
If they suspect something, they put another little wire down that blows pressure on it, and if it meets a certain margin, they go down and put a stent in. So there was all those three. That's it. Yeah.
Without being too indelicate, where's the entry point?
This time it was both times actually. I've had it done through the radial artery.
Oh, right, okay.
Or they can go up through the femoral artery in the groin.
Yeah, that's what when they did mine, they did that. And Christ, the bruise.
When you do the femoral, you've got to lay flat for like an hour or so with pressure on it. This one here, they just have a little wristband, and they just keep reducing the pressure until it's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'll never forget when they'd finished it. This was quite a few years ago. They couldn't stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
And the guy had his elbow in my groin, pushed for about an hour. Oh, the bruise.
It's painful as, yeah.
Face, yeah.
That's really pleasant, that.
Yeah, it's like being kicked in the ghoulies, basically.
Oh, so you've been through the mill then, Ian?
Yeah, look, to be honest, Dawn, it wasn't unexpected. Like 10 years in is the time when I kind of felt they were going to do some kind of exploratory anyway, just to check and see that it was all working. And given what I have, I was expecting that there could have been some, additional stuff, and there was. So at least it's all found now. And to be quite honest, I don't want to jinx myself, I actually feel more able, more fit.
But you will, because
since the last few, since having it done, because all of a sudden
you're dealing with now, don't you? And you know it's been sorted out. So
possibly even just the thought of that's out of the way now. But look, once all your heart's pumping exactly where it should, and it's pushing all the oxygen around,
you're going to feel better.
You feel better. yeah. But no, all good.
Yeah, I wonder how many of us are like going around our daily duties, not even knowing, and then bang.
Yeah, that's why it's important.
I think I put something up on Facebook just because of what's happened this time with about a particular syndrome that's called familial hypercholesterolemia, which is what I have. 1 in 250 to 300 people around the world have it. Now, that's a fairly wide ratio if you isolate it to 1 in 200 or 350 to 300. When you look at what that means in physical population of the world, there's a lot of people have it, and very few will know they have it. Yeah.
So would you just have a massive heart attack and then you'd be gone?
Look, with mine, I had a heart attack. It wasn't a massive heart attack, but it was enough to feel like I was going to be trampled on by an elephant. But look, that'll be it. All of a sudden, they'll have some severe cardiovascular problem, and that's where it'll get found out.
I mean, what does it feel like when you have a heart attack?
It feels like someone's sitting on your chest, literally pushing up against a wall as hard as they can. Yeah.
And that right up in the collarbone.
Yeah, it's more sort of up this area across into the shoulders, up and jaw.
Like pressure, or is it?
It's just
different.
It's almost impossible because when I was a paramedic, I would not say, "Do you have any chest pain?" Or do you have anything that feels uncomfortable in your chest? And I go, it feels like someone's pushing me. That's it. So they won't often see it as pain. So it's not something that really relates to as pain. Like you thump with a hammer. Yeah, it's like a full-blown pressure. It's an interesting, not something you want to experience. I would tell you, it's not nice.
I remember it was really painful to breathe in. It's got so painful that I didn't want to breathe in, but knew I had to. And felt sick. And I had literally pins and needles in my hand, and I knew all the signs. But as I was only 28 at the time, I thought this can't be a heart attack, but it was. But our mind again, like yours here, was quite slight. I didn't lose consciousness.
I'm all good, ready to go for another 10 years, hopefully, or maybe 20 or 30. Nice.
That's good. You seem a bit more bubbly. You seem a bit more.
Look at Dawn. I think too. I knew what was coming up. I knew 10 years was like it's a known medical benchmark of like, we'll go in and really investigate everything that's been going on for the last 10 years. And if I ran like an athlete and drank water and ate cardboard, I would probably, and didn't have this, I'd be more than happy to say, well, nothing's going to change, but I don't have control over this stuff, and I'm not the massive amounts of statins which control your cholesterol. The only thing I've got to show for that is cramping up legs all the time, and now things like skeletal muscle starts to get, you'll move some way and you feel it tear, it just goes, So yeah, and that's just a byproduct of having to take statins. So
have you tried changing the statins, Mike?
Sorry?
I'm on statins, and I had real problems. And they changed. I told my doctor they changed them, and it went away.
I've tried a couple.
Okay.
Because I'm on, like most people will be on sort of 20 at max. I'm on 80 every day.
Oh shit!
Just to deal with it. So I get that sort of, I get that flow through. Yeah. But anyway, that's I'm okay.
Oh no!
At least I'm still here.
Yeah, 20's a lot. Yeah. 80's a lot. Yeah.
And how's everyone else?
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Good.
Got no medical things to talk about, so I'm all right.
Good. I like your office there, Dawn.
It's good, isn't it?
Looks awesome.
Oh yeah, you're in a different
office. I get the sack all the time when I'm in here because my only job that I've got is shredding paper, and I cock that up, so he sacks me every day.
Is that your home office, or are you actually at work?
No, it's work.
You don't work, do you? No.
Well, I am a director of his company, so I do a few things. Not that
that's fair enough. Yeah.
I don't do much. I shouldn't say that. Don't put that out there, Michael. Get done.
I don't think you'll be the only one, Dawn.
No, but what else? Growing my cucumbers and my aubergines in the greenhouse. So yeah, the weather's a bit crap. I don't know what it's like there, Mike, but it's crap here. It's all cloudy and horrible.
I should be here. It's
Is it? Have you got it really humid up there, Dawn? Because it's
been really humid. We were meant to have
really humid here.
Yesterday.
I think we're experiencing some of what you guys get.
Yeah, no, it was yesterday. Today it's just really drizzly and cloudy and just miserable. But actually, it's
really
quite nice.
humid here. Well, it is really humid for us. Put it that way. I walked the dog this morning, and my t-shirt was soaked. Yeah, I didn't walk very fast.
We've had some great weather here, Mike, haven't we?
Hell yeah, 100-kilometre winds or more.
Winds, 100-mile-an-hour winds. Have you really?
Kilometres an hour.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. Today's been mad. It's been crazy.
Yeah. There were some parts of, I think it was Tassie or Victoria, they were actually told to evacuate.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my God.
They were having winds on categories of 1 to 5. They were, I think it was at 2, wasn't it, Michael?
Yeah.
Category 2 cyclone level winds. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you evacuate Tasmania?
Sorry?
How do you walk?
How do you evacuate Tasmania?
Not quickly.
That's pretty unheard of, is it? It's not the norm.
When I first came here, there was always August winds. It was always just a windy time of year. I can remember living in the hostel in Fremantle and getting blown across the park there as in August sort of time. And then it sort of petered off for, I don't know, a decade or something. But then it's come back again. And because it's when we have what you would say a change of season, not that we have dramatic change of seasons like you do over there. It's the weather becomes quite unstable. So normally in the dead of winter, it's actually really stable. Temperatures used to be relatively the same, but we've had at the end of our winter, was it last weekend? There was like late 20s, early 30s. I think somewhere in Western Sydney got to 30 in late winter.
It was hot.
So what the fuck is that?
It was hot. It wasn't just warm. It was really hot.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do about it. I mean, there ain't nothing you can do about this changing weather, is there? We just have to adapt to it or don't.
Where you guys are, what sort of lows do you get down into in winter? Do you get anywhere near freezing ever? Or?
I don't know about Ian, because Ian's on the water, so he'll be influenced by the water temperature. But where I am, Albion Park sort of nestles more up against the mountains. That'll probably be the coldest point here. And you might get a -3, maybe.
Yep.
I think our summers seem to be lasting longer. Like, I think September seems to be a lot warmer. Maybe we just forget as we get older what it ain't actually changing. We just think it is. Because I was sitting this morning upstairs having a shower thinking, what are we going to discuss today then? have we talked about, for the life of me, I'm like, have we talked about, I can't remember. So I think I'm going to have to start writing down what I talk about, because otherwise I'm going to be like a doodling old woman that repeats herself.
Well, if you do start repeating yourself, we'll just stop you.
Okay, please do. I did go to bingo the other day. I took the book when Jamie was here, so over the village hall, because as I said before, there's no pub or anything. They have a bingo evening, and I said to Jamie, who's always up for a laugh, my middle boy, do you want to go to bingo? Hoping he'd say, bingo, I'm 20, Mum, why do I want to go bingo? He went, yeah, Mum, let's go. And then Eddie went, yeah, come on. So there was me with my two young sons going over to the bingo village hall with all these old people sitting there with their roll-ups and their fags, and walked in, and I was like, I've never played bingo, so I didn't even know how to play it. So I had to go and ask the people how to do it, and they looked horrified at me. But Jamie won all the bingo money, so they don't want us to go back.
I was going to say there'd be a riot, wouldn't there?
He won like nearly 30 quid. I think it was only £2 a book or something.
That's a result.
The villagers will put out a hit on him.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, the drinks, so we had 3 drinks. We had a gin and tonic, a pint of Guinness and a Coke, and it was £7.50. You couldn't get that in a pub.
You're kidding.
No, that's $15. That's $15. Yeah, nah. You wouldn't get that here either.
My boys were like, whoa, we're going to live here now, Mum. The beer's cheap.
It is just. I've paid over £7 for 1 pint of Guinness in London. Wow,
disgusting, isn't it?
Oh, it's quite ridiculous. I mean, yeah, I don't think you can get a pint of beer in any pub for
under a £5 now.
Under a £5, no. You might do in clubs like cricket clubs and where
like
it's
football clubs
where their main objective is not to make money over the bar. But you go to a regular public house or bar, and you are not going to get a pint of beer under a £5.
No.
Yeah, if there's 5 or 6 of you, it's 30 quid a round every time.
And you don't want to buy it around for everyone when it's that sort of price, does it? Because then everyone feels like they've got to buy it back. So sometimes you're better, unless you're like 4 or 6 of you. But like if you go out in a big group, just chuck some money in a hat or something.
Yeah.
Just do a whip or something. Yeah, but not that we do that here, because like I say, we ain't got no friends. That's quite cheap.
That's one of the things that when people come to Australia, they're shocked about how much it costs to drink here.
Really?
Yeah, that's really expensive. Because we've got, like beer probably not, but spirits, absolutely. Yeah. People just go, how much do you pay? I think I haven't bought stuff for a long time, but I think we're about 30-40% on top of what you guys are paying.
What will you pay for a bottle of whiskey, a blend?
I'll tell you what.
I'll
look that up.
What is it? A pot? Did you say?
A bottle of whiskey.
Whiskey blend rather than a single malt, a blend.
Well, we went to a birthday party last week or a week before, and I bought one beer, and it cost me $8.50. And it was just a normal beer. I just think light strength beer, $8.50 for one beer. People go and knock 10 of those off. And nearly $100 in blooming alcohol and all. That's ridiculous.
Do you have pubs out there though? But they're not like our pubs, are they?
No. Pubs here are pretty much to go and drink and gamble. That's it.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Predominantly, and it sounds awful, predominantly a male domain.
Right.
Doesn't mean females will come along too, but they're not a family place. The hotels will have what they call we'll have like the meal area, and kids are allowed into that. But anywhere where they sell alcohol over the counter, the kids aren't allowed into those.
I had someone on Facebook the other day. She'd got into a pub in Burnham where we came from, and she'd moaned because it was during the day. She'd taken her 3 young, 3-year-old, so toddlers, 3 of them. And they were playing, the parents were playing pool, and the kids were all running around screaming.
Mm.
And she got the hump because the people that owned the pub weren't very impressed. They were like giving them dirty looks. And everyone was like, abandon the pub. And I just said, I'm sorry, but I don't think a drinking pub is a place for toddlers. I don't.
I agree.
A nice beer garden, and then go outside and run around and scream. But I don't want to go and sit in a pub and have a drink with loads of... Well, I've got kids. I don't want to screaming kids. I'm sorry. I'll get the hump if some kids are sitting in the restaurant in the table next to me playing their bloody iPad games, and all I can hear is "Dada, dada," and I sit there and I go, "Oh God, that's my nutting."
The whole atmosphere of pubs here has changed over the last probably 40, 50 years. And like Ian, like you were saying, they used to be predominantly male situations. And I can remember my mum saying that before she married my dad, and in fact, even when she was married, women didn't go into a pub unaccompanied. They just didn't do it. They didn't. You wouldn't meet your girlfriend for a drink without a bloke going in with you, and that's completely eased. And Dawn, you probably remember, and Mike, you might as well from here. Pubs traditionally had two bars. They had a public bar, which would be spit and sawdust, and then they had a saloon bar where it was much more comfortable and the drinks were, a few pence more expensive. And the public bar was your builders and decorators and carpenters
after work finishers,
dartboard and a bar billiards table. But and that's completely changed now. And they're just one big open place. And most pubs.
And they all do food.
Yeah, and they all do food because that's how they make their money now.
Yeah.
Well, I worked bars when I was a young guy, held down a few jobs at a time, and when I first got engaged. And so it would have been in the early 80s, 80, 81. And that even at that time, the clubs, like the football club, I guess you've got them there as well, they had a members bar, and that was for men only.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the women were considered to be associate members. That's in 1980 in Australia.
Wow.
When it stopped, it was really interesting. I actually worked the night that they had changed, the day everything changed, and women came into that members bar, and you should have seen the guys. They just split. They all just disappeared. And the women went in on protest pretty much. They just went, oh, now we can go and we will. And it didn't take long, though. A week or so, it was all mingling. People, you could bring your girlfriend in, and there's none of that now. But that was in 1980, which is...
Not that long ago, is it?
Long ago when you think of the scheme of things, yeah.
Well, I saw something the other day saying in 6 years' time, the 1980s will be 50 years ago.
Oh, no, I saw that.
The 1980s will be 50 years ago in 6 years' time.
Yeah, for sure.
That's scared you.
Well, Jules and I have been married 42 years this year. No, what is it? What year are we in? 20. What is it? 24.
4. God, you sound like my dad when I
year.
go and visit him in the home. What year is it, Michael?
42 years have been married, so I can imagine 50 years is coming up quick.
Yeah. So, Mike, having been obviously to know both countries as an adult, you can still see though that like the pub, I would have particularly imagined in a village situation, would be the focal point of a village, maybe where there's a social outlet. But here it's definitely sort of blue collar workers, after work sort of feel. And our drinking laws are a lot different as well.
Are they?
So we're highly regulated.
Which is good.
Yeah, highly regulated. You go to so if you go to Northern Territory where Ian's daughter lives,
there's no rules.
I don't know if I told you this one, but I happened with a couple. I thought I'll buy a bottle of wine and take it with me. And the guy goes, I need to see your ID.
Yeah.
I did.
Look at me, mate. Look at me.
Yeah.
Says, no. I'll have to see your ID. Because in each, you would call them offies. Yeah. In each bottle shop, they've got a system set up that the government's put in, and they scan your ID. And if you appear on a list that you've been in trouble for alcohol, or abuse or anything like that, you can't buy it.
It's quite good. I quite like that.
And that's in a territory or a state where there's very few other rules.
Yeah.
That's quite.
That makes
There's no rules in the NT except pretty much that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's about it.
There's a traditional one near me, and then they've been in business for God knows since God was a child, but they're more wine merchants.
Yeah.
I don't think, they do sell beer, but it's more wines and spirits. And they're really good if you want something special, they've always got it.
Yeah, but they're pretty few and far between now. I mean, when I lived in Burnham, there was 2 in Burnham, and there's I think a new one has just opened up, just a wine merchants.
Yeah.
But they're not like they used to be, are they? Because everyone goes to supermarkets now
exactly.
and buys
Everybody's
their
buying everything
alcohol.
from supermarket. Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. No, we used to get. I was thinking about that this morning actually, because there were several chains. There was Unwins and Freshers and they've all gone. All gone. Yeah. No, the whole atmosphere is very different now.
So, for instance, you can buy alcohol in your supermarkets. We can't. Even though the supermarket chains have liquor places where you can buy it, you can't actually buy it inside the supermarket.
Really?
So you can't. So you've got to go to a separate shop to buy it.
Aldi.
Aldi, except for Aldi.
Aldi is setting it in. They're the only ones there.
You have Aldi there, and Lidl's.
Yeah.
Lidl's.
No,
What's
not
the other one?
Aldi and Lidl, same sort of thing, really.
No. But just Aldi have their liquor section as part of the supermarket, but all the others have separate, bottle shops, they call them. Yeah.
But you've got to go to a specific register to pay for the
but
alcohol.
Why is that? Have you got a lot of alcoholic problems in Australia, or?
I just think it's the rules. They've got to make sure you're over 18 and that sort of stuff.
I think there's a history component to it. I think there's a history component to it as well. So you've got to remember that when the convicts first came out here, everything was rationed, everything was highly restricted, and I think, I don't know, I've got no basis. It's just intuition that has followed through in different ways in our society. So alcohol has always been much more controlled. Is probably a better way than say the UK and Europe as an example.
I might be totally wrong, but did the Aborigines in Australia have a lot of problem with alcohol?
Oh, yeah,
really.
And it's known. Everyone's had a go at trying to fix it. There are some places, I want to say reservations, but that's not the right word, is it, Ian? Because that's more of American, Native Americans. But there are particular places, I would imagine, in Western Australia where they're dry. You can't take stuff.
Communities, just the communities,
Wow.
And so then you've also got people who try to do the whole black market thing up in like the NT, where maybe people with European heritage go and buy stuff, and then they go and flog it to the First Nations people at exorbitant prices. So the coppers even pull over. So if there's someone looks sus on a road out in the middle of nowhere with a van or something, they'll pull them over and they'll search them for alcohol. Yeah.
But I wonder what the statistics are with French people, because they drink a lot of wine, and I don't know. Do they have a lot of alcoholics in France, or is it?
But I have seen quite a lot written about that, and apparently not.
No.
They must have it, of course, because every society has alcoholics, but apparently not half as bad as we do here in the UK. And one of the main reasons is apparently that in a traditional French family, but particularly a rural family, they'll sit down for the family meal, and even at 6, 7, 8 years old, you're given a glass of wine.
Yeah.
But you're taught to respect it, and it's just something that you drink with a meal, and you don't really go and just go out with your mates with the sole objective of getting bollocks. So apparently it's much less evident in France and all the low countries, Belgium.
Yeah, but I think that's what happens. I think the more when children are kiddies are young, you get these parents who go, "You're not having them sweets, you're not having them. They're all bad for you. They're bad for you." And then all that happens is these kids that when they're old enough and they've got their pocket money, they go out and they'll buy 20 ton of sweets and they'll hide it because it's something they've never been drip fed, if you like. I think that's a bad thing. I think I should have maybe put wine in my kids' bottles. Perhaps they'd have been a lot cheerier and chilled out as they got older.
How did you introduce them to alcohol? Slowly, or?
I didn't. We never really had alcohol like the French. We never used to have a meal and have alcohol. But I suppose it was at Christmas and that they'd want a beer or a shandy. I think probably had a shandy.
How about you, Ian? How did you, with your children? How did you introduce? Did you
to alcohol? Typical. Go to parties when you're 17 or 16 or 15, and someone would buy what we call a goon over here, a box of wine. Out would come the plastic thing, and and we'd do it until we couldn't stand up.
What about your children? I mean, that's what.
Oh, kid.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
We're not, Jules and I don't drink. We're not big drinkers. Like, I'll have a cold beer at the end of the day if I've been working, but
Yeah.
I've got 2 cases sitting in a fridge.
They'll
stay there until the end of summer, you know. But yeah, look, our family's never been around that. They don't drink. They learnt their drinking habits, which they don't drink now anyway. When they did, they went through the normal teen stuff, but it was only because of peer pressure and that sort of thing. It's just I guess it's just that rite of passage into the late teens and that sort of stuff when you know you shouldn't be, but you do. And then when you get out there and you can, okay, it's boring, so they don't do it. But, you know, I feel for some people because they don't have that in their makeup. They just don't have that, whether it's their experiences they've seen or whatever, that they just can't stop. Like, I know when I was in the job, we would go on Saturday nights to hotels and there would be well-dressed young women so paralytic they could not even speak. They were at risk of losing their airway because they'd fall over in the thing with their neck like this and they'd expire just through drinking alcohol. You know, they'd try to keep up.
I've never ever got that bad. I mean, like when people say someone said, "Oh, I slept with him," but I don't remember it. I've never been that drunk when I don't know what I'm doing. I would not like to not have control of my own functions.
Yeah, no. And that's where the danger starts, is they don't have that control.
Yeah.
They don't know what's going on in essence. Yeah, so, you know, sometimes it'd just be a procession of going to the nearest pubs where you get called in, getting a patient in the back of your ambulance and maintaining an airway all the way to hospital. Because there's not a lot you can do for someone who's alcohol intoxicated in an ambulance, is just maintain their airway because they can't. And, you know, get them to hospital and they can start looking at them, basically just bring them out of it and that's it. Let the alcohol disappear out of their body and then they go home the next morning. But yeah, look, you know, sad because they don't know what they're doing to their bodies as well. You know, the livers get smashed at an early age and that sort of stuff. So, yeah. Alcohol's great when you use it as a social tool. Absolutely awful when you get stuck into it. It absolutely wrecks your body. There's not much good about alcohol in your body, that's for sure. Yeah.
I remember a lecture at uni, they were talking about drugs and they said the 2 most dangerous drugs are the ones that you can actually get hold of.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Tobacco and alcohol. They said, depending on how you ingest marijuana, heroin and cocaine, they said, take out the addictive component of it. It doesn't do anywhere near as much damage to you as the other 2.
Oh, yeah. Is this marijuana? Is that what you're saying?
It's marijuana, cocaine, and heroin. They talked about.
Well, heroin is just bad, simply just bad. The reason people die of heroin overdose isn't because of the drug heroin, it's because it reduces their respiratory rate to a point where they become apneic and die. So when people die of drug overdose, it's because they stop breathing. Mm-hmm. With cocaine, it's quite the reverse. They get so hyped up, they have crazy arrhythmias and they die of heart attack because if their heart's going so fast. Cocaine, marijuana, on the other hand, there's actually a lot of.
Marijuana.
The thing is,
marijuana.
You know, marijuana's got this, and I only smoked it once or twice in the 70s, like everyone else, but it actually has quite a lot of good medicinal stuff. If you take the THC, which is the tetrahydrocannabinol, that's a hallucinogenic out of it. That's what they're giving to people now who have post-traumatic stress, people with dementia and behavioural issues in their older ages, you know, and it just calms that process because it's very calming, you know. So yeah, out of all of them, and that's one of the bigger problems is that parents of kids when they were like in their teens in the 70s would say to their kids, as mine did, look, if you're going to try any drugs, just do marijuana.
Weed.
Yeah, get into the weed because it's okay, you know, don't try the big ones. But what happens is the schools where all this came in through, it's a business for these dealers. So they just dry up the marijuana supply and say, look, we don't have any, try this. And that was it. And I've lost mates to heroin overdoses, cocaine, all sorts of stuff over the 80s back in there.
Do you not think, though, Ian, if somebody is that way inclined, I mean, like, I've always had that argument. People say to me, yeah, but you start on, I mean, I don't smoke weed anymore. I have done. But if you start on that, you go on to, and I was like, well, I don't believe that's true. That's like saying someone that has an alcoholic drink is going to end up an alcoholic. I just think, I think that if you're that way wired, you're always hunting for that buzz, so you're going to go on to more, whereas I never was.
It'll be certain people. You're dead right. Those that are looking at it. And these, the drugs we have now, which is GHC, they call it, but GBH, and ecstasy, those sort of drugs.
Yeah.
The problem with ecstasy, to some extent, they're going to look at starting to use MDMA, which is the ecstasy you hear about, starting to use that in, once again, things like, because it allows certain processes to take place in a controlled environment. They're actually really beneficial.
Yeah, it's your brain.
But yeah, LSD, back in the 60s, LSD, there was a lot of really good stuff it did for people, especially in the creative side of things. But it's what happened to them when they were on it. They were doing crazy things like jumping off buildings and doing crazy, stupid things. Yeah, so look, the big ones that are really bad are like crack cocaine.
Yeah. All the really impure stuff. The
methamphetamine stuff, because there's just nothing good about that. And the worst thing of that is the first time they have it, they say the high is just unbelievable. It sends you to a place that you've always wanted to go, but you never get back there. So they just use more and more and more. Yeah. And they just kill people. They just ruin people.
And they're all putting ketamine as well here, horse tranquilizer.
Yeah, it's a horse tranquilizer, an equine tranquilizer. The first time I ever came across a ketamine overdose, I'd never even heard of it, nor had any other paramedics on scene. We get to a dance festival at the back of a place called Camden, which is, I'm not sure if you're there, but you look at a major city like Sydney, and probably about 30, 40 minutes away from that is this fairly rural area, and it was known as Camden. Well, beyond that are all just farms. So we get called to this farm that we've got to go to, where they had some sort of fairy garden concert. Well, what the hell? No one's told us about this. We're the only paramedics for blooming 50 square kilometres, and no one's told us about it. So we turn up to this thing, and I'm directed to a 40-year-old male who's unconscious. So we get there, and the only person who could tell us what was going on was his wife, and she was livid. So we got him in the back, popped an airway in, and tell me what is going on. She said, my husband's the organiser of this event. Someone said, try this. So he did, and here we are. And this was a 40-year-old guy who got caught up in the moment, and here he was having to be ventilated all the way to hospital because it's a horse tranquilizer. I've never heard of it.
Well,
we use it as an analgesia.
Surely if it will just send a horse to sleep, what high are you going to get out of that? I don't understand. I don't get it.
Yeah, look, ketamine's a dissociative drug. So when we use it on, well, I don't now, but when I was a paramedic, if you went to someone who was in major trauma, like really beaten up, you would give it to them. But if they were conscious, you had to tell them, look, we're going to give you medication that will take your pain away. It's not really an analgesia. It doesn't take your pain. It doesn't work on pain receptors. What it does is disassociates what you feel as to what you're thinking. Yeah. So I've had patients who've had legs hanging out at right angles. Sorry, I should have. These are people who you're looking, we can't put them in an ambulance like that. So we have to now traction that back into shape. But you give it this medication and they're watching you do it and they're going, wow, that's cool. Go figure. But the K-hole, as they call it, this hole that they go into when they're going in the ketamine, when the ketamine's taking effect, can be quite scary for them. So when you give it to them, say, look, we're going to give you a medication, you're going to feel some quite strange feelings, just ride with it, we're here, you're safe. And that's the sort of thing. And they just sit, you just see them, you're sitting there, give it to them, and all of a sudden their eyes just glaze over and they look like they've just spaced out, and you can do whatever you need to do. And as I say, one guy actually looked at us move his femur from a right angle into the square again, and he's going, wow, that's cool.
Well, that's the drug.
Yeah, so you asked about what do they get from it. That's what they get, this complete disassociation from all the stuff going on in the world and in their life and in their mind, to just being able to accept everything and go, wow, that's cool.
Isn't it incredible how the human race over thousands of years and more has discovered these things? And it's
always looking for something better.
Yeah, it really is. It's
from clubs to ketamine.
Yeah.
Well, I've got
horse tranquilizer. Who in their right mind would have ever thought, let's take some horse tranquilizer to see what it does?
Yeah, God.
To be a veterinarian for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like those people that
100%.
those, what are those ants? They're really bad, stingy ants. What they call?
Fire ants.
Yeah.
Fires,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a sting chart or something I remember seeing years ago. So there's obviously some person that's got all these highly painful, biting creatures and just puts it on their body to find out how much it hurts.
Yeah.
What the hell?
That's all a bit weird, isn't it? That reminds me of the Billy Connolly joke about when he says, who was the first person that realised you could get milk out of a cow, and exactly what was he doing at the time?
Exactly.
So I've got a story about the innocence of a young boy coming from a small Essex village into a relatively large city here in Australia. So I was 14, 15 when I left the UK, and Dawn will understand this. Idyllic English countryside, boyhood, had no idea about the big wide world, absolutely none. And so come to Australia and go into a science class one day, and I was sitting next to, I still remember his name, Ian Sherman his name was, sitting next to me. And he pulls out this little foil package.
Oh.
And he goes, look at this. Oh, what's that? It's just grass. All right. Do you want to come down the back later and smoke it? And never smoked anyway, so I'm just like, no, what do I want to do that for? Anyway, it's grass. He goes, yeah, it's grass. I go, what? Did you mow the lawn this morning? And is that what you're going to be smoking? I don't understand. What?
Yeah.
Why are you smoking grass? And so you can imagine this to and fro conversation, totally two different levels. Him talking about marijuana, me talking about the lawn, and how the fuck why is this guy mow the lawn and smoking grass? I don't get it. Because it was rife. Because up in the mountains, back in the years, when the cops started getting heat-seeking cameras, they could put them on the helicopters, and you would see helicopters up here about behind us. Ian will know this. And you knew that they're out looking for the marijuana plantations. And
really?
always had them.
My daughter just gave me a bit of popcorn.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, should I be eating it? Yes, it's double as popcorn. Yeah, but you're right, mate. Yeah. Yep, checking out where all the stashes are.
Yeah.
No.
And then there'd be a TV, then on the news, there would be a segment with all the police making this massive bonfire, burning all the marijuana.
And then they all go back to eat because they're all starving.
All standing around. Yeah, and you wonder why they have next
breathing in, yeah.
But where I used to work, in the steelworks, they used to, where I worked in the coke ovens, the cops would come in sometimes, and because we've got big ovens that would, incinerate things really quickly, they were just bags and bags and bags and stuff into the ovens to burn them. Yeah, there was a lot of blokes there going, oh my God, what a waste.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say, Michael, that the guys were bringing their store in and drying it out in there.
Well, there is an urban myth, and we're not quite don't know how true it is. But one night, there's a story goes that these guys walked onto the top of the ovens, where there's large holes that you can fill with coal. And anyway, these guys have come in with plastic bags, thrown the plastic bags into the ovens and then gone. And they think they're disposing of a body.
Oh, serious? Yeah. Could be. Yeah, well and truly.
Yeah. But you'd never know, because once it's in there, you'd never get it out. So you'd never be able to get in there and find it anyway. So, yeah.
It's probably true, mate. It's probably true.
Yeah.
What else would they be throwing in there? But something they wanted to desperately get rid of, yeah.
The what?
Yep.
Motion detected at the rear door.
Oh, shut up. It's a bloody door camera, isn't it? And every time we've got a footpath down the side of our house, and every time someone walks past, it goes, him in at the door.
Well, at least I just get phone notifications. It doesn't actually tell me, which is, that'd get annoying.
Go put some chewing gum over the camera and that'll piss him off.
I'd be wanting to change the voiceover and saying, piss off!
I do that myself. It's great. I remember when we used to live, I can't remember, back in Burnham, when we had the camera, and there was some couple of Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on the door. And this is before the cameras were quite well known like they are now. And obviously you could speak through it. And they were standing there and rang the doorbell. And then I could see they had their Black Tower magazines or whatever they are.
Mm.
And I was like, go back! Oh!
That's the one.
Yeah, carry on.
I saw. I don't know if you guys saw it. I saw a thing on Facebook. Someone had put a notice out, properly typed up and laminated on their front door, saying, "If you're a door-to-door salesman or want to convert me to your particular type of religion, please be aware that we charge £10 per minute to talk to you at our front door. Minimum contract is 5 minutes. By pressing this bell, you agree to those terms."
Good one.
Do you remember all that, Mike? I would not be able to repeat that after.
I'm weird. I'm weird.
I'm not very good at recalling things. My brain doesn't.
No, I was told two jokes today, actually. I was told 2 jokes today, and I'm still trying to. I can't remember them. I've got about 3/4 of them, but I can't remember them, so there's no point telling them.
I do have to make it up, and they're not as funny then.
Well, as I've said before, for me, it's just certain things remind me. And Ian, Mike, you were saying about them chucking big things into the big ovens, and that just reminded me of the one about I'll make this as quick as possible. It has to be an Irish family, and the priest goes around, knocks on Mrs. Murphy's door, and she opens the door, and he says, "Oh, Mrs. Murphy, I'm terribly sorry, but I have to tell you that your husband, Sean, was working down at the Guinness factory as an electrician, working in the ceiling there, and he fell into a big vat of Guinness, and I'm horribly sad to have to tell you that he drowned and he's died." And she went, "Oh my God," she said, "that's awful. What a terrible way to go." And the priest said, "Well, I wouldn't worry too much because he got out 3 times for a piss."
So, Ian, you sent us that photograph of your daughter and her boyfriend.
Yeah.
So you said there's permission we can publish that?
Yeah.
All right.
Quick story on it. His parents, we've known them now for probably 12 or 18 months. The kids have been going together. And we went to their place for Christmas. And we said, look, we'll just do we'll go to an op shop, like Lisa runs those op shops, those sort of places, and find something for $10. We actually got some really cool stuff. Each one of us got some pretty cool things. I ended up getting a record player, small record player. But all our records are still stuck in a box in the garage I can't get to. So anyway, my daughter, being Father's Day over here in Australia, she bought me a LP of AC/DC, which I didn't have, which is good. So when he came in tonight, he said, "Oh, where's the record player? I'd like to hear the record." I said, "Have you ever seen these before?" "No." "Have you ever used vinyl before?" "No." So I took him through a whole process. Take it out, make sure you don't touch the light, lay it over here, bring the needle across, took him through the whole process. And then for the whole side of an LP, so what are we looking at, 20 minutes or whatever, they were just literally, that photo was them. They were just both staring at this thing spinning around in absolute awe of what was going on. These kids are really tech savvy. They've got it all. You get in their car and everything goes bong, bong, bong and ding, 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 and the music comes out of wherever it comes out. But they were absolutely mesmerised by this black bit of vinyl spinning around and making a sound. And I thought, have we lost something over these last 3-4 decades? This is what we got these for. We're tactile people. We like to feel, touch, read books, not have it come stream through something else, And I just wondered whether, because they said, "This is so cool." I said, "Yeah, well, this is, so now I'm going to obviously pull out the old records and we'll play those every time they come over." But yes, that was the background story.
Record player. I remember years ago, I had it probably in the 70s, one of the box ones with the lid used to flip up and used to pull the trigger down and the arm would come up and go across. And then I used to stand on my little plastic Smurfs on the record and watch them get whacked off by the stylus. It probably wasn't a good thing for the record player. I'd love to get one. Maybe I'll have a look at it.
One of my biggest regrets is when CDs came out. I thought, well, that's the way forward. In fact, I don't know what I did with all my old LPs. I probably chucked them away.
Oh, I've got loads.
I had some real classics in there. So Dark Side of the Moon, Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane, Rolling Stones, Beatles. What a fucking idiot. I should have hung on to those.
Well,
really should have done. Just for prosperity.
I used to buy an LP. I would take it home. put the recorder on, like the tape recorder, and record it. So I had a tape. Then I'd tape another tape from another. You do the tape to tape thing.
Yep.
So I had a master and the one I'd play in the car, and the record would go back in the sleeve, and some of my albums had been played once.
Oh, my
And
goodness.
I've probably got about 60 to 80 albums still, and these are all from the 70s, early 80s, yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting them back out.
In there.
Yeah. So some of them won't have a scratch on them.
Wow.
Wow.
Melted now, though, if it's been hot.
Sorry?
Has it been quite cold?
Yeah, no, it wouldn't. It'd take a fair bit more. I tended to stack them heavy, stack one on top of the other in a box or somewhere cool. Yeah. Yeah, so
those really thick not albums. The really old ones are like China. Some of them are. Yeah, really weird. Thick. I mean, a few of them got broken in the moves. I've also got a floppy disk. It was a Christmas edition sent out from the Beatles, the group. It's all them talking and wishing everyone a happy Christmas, and something like a little single, but that's quite cool.
Yeah, cool. That'd be good.
I can remember Ian, you talking about doing tape to tapes. I can remember my very first recorder was a reel to reel.
Yeah.
I remember when cassettes came out. Oh, I coveted one of those so much. And finally I got one. I coveted it more than I did an Action Man a few years earlier. Yeah, I so wanted one of those things, and eventually I think I got one for Christmas. But initially it was reel to reel, and the reels were about that size, I suppose. Yeah, not big. Wow. Yeah. And the bloody cassettes, and then they used to spew all the tape out, and you have to put a pen.
God, a big pen trying to wind it all back in again.
I used to, if you remember the old cassette tapes, on one top corner they had two little squares.
Yes.
And
tape over it. Put some tape over it.
Yeah, you could record them or not. Everyone got tape. Every single one got tape, because I would absolutely go nuts if something got taped over.
Yeah.
God, I forgot all about it.
Here's one for the UK guys. I used to go. I won't tell you the whole story, but in my competition days, I used to go with a mate nicknamed Banana. And I won't say why. Anyway, Banana and I would go to the surf comps, and we'd turn up in our car, and he would play full blast on cassette, full blast, so the back speakers are just about blowing the windows out. He would play God Save the Queen by the Sex Pistols. And we would sing that song at the top of our lungs and scare the bejesus out of everyone else in the competition. They honestly thought we were insane. It gave us a competitive advantage. These guys are absolutely mad. Yeah.
That would have been about 1978, 79?
Yeah, 78, 77, 78, yeah. I was about 17 or 18, yeah. They'd hear us coming, and they go, they're coming. These guys are coming, watch them.
I love it. Love it.
Can't beat the Sex Pistols. Or at the time, I thought they were rubbish, but the other day I was playing Field Band, and I was just cracking up because, they're quite clever guys.
I'll tell you what I did do through the week. Fortunately, I was able to go. I didn't know how I'd go coming out of the thing, but it was the very next day. I thought, bugger it, I can walk, I can talk, I can go there. We had a Queen tribute band play down here in an entertainment centre that we've got down here. And because we're all of that era, and especially because of the UK, I'll put just a video up on the Messenger page. This guy and his band, he was fantastic. Like, he had the whole moves down. He dressed. It wasn't just, sing the songs. These guys were true impersonators. He's a brilliant singer. He did the part properly. But when you looked at the background, John Deacon, the bassist in Queen, had a certain style when he played. This guy looked exactly like him. From a distance, you couldn't tell the difference.
Really?
Brian May had the long hair, and he was a great guitarist, the guy in this band. Yeah, and even Roger Taylor, the drummer, looked like him from a distance and played. It was like watching Queen. It was fantastic. So I'll put it up. There's a couple of runs about a minute, so I'll pop one up. Yeah.
You watched Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yes, fantastic. It's brilliant. And the way they did, because it was the 1985, wasn't it? 13th of July 1985 at Wembley, was that Live Aid concert. And there's actually some video, if you go into Google and you put in Live Aid concert and Bohemian Rhapsody, and they actually split screen it. So the guy that played Freddie Mercury in Bohemian Rhapsody and Freddie Mercury are put side by side on your screen, and they're identical. Like all the moves, even when he's playing on a piano, the number of cardboard Pepsi cups that were up there, exactly the same position. Yeah, really well done, really well
I remember watching that all day in front of the television.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant.
We were talking about that at the Waterski Club yesterday afternoon about that performance by Queen, and it is. I think it is genuinely recognised that Freddie Mercury's performance, that was probably the best live performance there's ever been by any rock star ever. That
many players that the best set of music ever played. Yeah, they were brilliant.
Yeah. You didn't get any Oasis tickets then, Mike?
No, I didn't even bother. I've never been a big fan. Quite good music, lousy attitude. Don't like them.
I said to Tim, because he was going to try and book some for Cardiff, which I think are probably the first concerts that they're going to do. But I said to Tim, if you don't get the first concerts, I won't bother trying to get tickets for the others, because they'll kick crap out of each other and they'll be split up.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. There's been a lot of condemnation on the radio this morning about the process of getting tickets, because I forget what they call it now. Something pricing. But as the number of tickets was going down, they were pushing the price up. You joined in. People were saying we joined in for £95 tickets at whatever venue, and by the time they came to be offered to us, they were £325.
Oh, that's ridiculous!
They've been resold by touts for over £6,000 a ticket. Yeah. Ridiculous! It should be banned. It's wrong.
Yeah,
it's completely
extortion, isn't it? Yeah.
Probably find it. It's something pricing. I have heard of it before, but
it's just greed, isn't it? Like, very, very greedy. I'd like to go and see Coldplay. I love Coldplay. I'd like to go and see them.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Coldplay.
Good band, but we've seen Paloma Faith and a few others recently. That's been right cool. I like a bit of live music.
Yeah, me too.